passed out student, and he is our favorite student too. Dhruv, welcome. Let me give a short introduction about him. He has given as He's a 90s kid who was born and brought up in Haryana and wanted to be a wildlife biologist as a kid and become a develop OS engineer. Life happened, I guess. So he loves to play football, YNWA. If you know, you know. Sketching, singing, traveling, acting, cooking, and whatnot. And he has shared the LinkedIn profile, which I have already shared it to you. And I'll share this PPT too to everyone. Over to you, Dhruv, for giving or sharing your thoughts to your juniors. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am, for that warm introduction. So, hi, everyone. I would request everyone or most of you if you could turn on your cameras. I want this not to be a lecture, but like a session, interactive session, and I hope it will help you in some way. So, I hope I'm visible to you. I'm
Yeah,
quite new to this
absolutely.
Google Meet, so I usually use Teams or Zoom. So, let me share my screen quickly.
Yeah, everyone, please turn on your video, guys, please.
I think students are now a bit more relaxed when they are at their homes. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes, Ma, it's visible.
Okay. So hi everyone. I'm Dhruv and Premlata ma'am and Anushya ma'am already gave a warm introduction about me and uh, so currently I'm working in Novartis uh, as a DevOps engineer. So I've graduated from VIT uh, from 2019 and I was born and brought up in Haryana. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist, or you may call it a zoologist. But then I think life happened, and as most of the people, I just went into engineering and I became a DevOps engineer. So this is my first job. It's been almost a year and a half working in Novartis, and it has been quite a great journey. I would talk about it later. I would like to thank Anushya and Premlata ma'am because usually people who are so young are not given this opportunity to give guest lectures. I would say so. Even this is one of the first for me. So thank you for having me. And because I come from a very fresh experience, just from a year and a half back, so probably it will help you in coming placements. So before we go ahead, I just want to ask if all of you, which year are you in right now and which course exactly, BTech, MTech? So yeah,
Yeah, we have
maybe
yeah
yeah.
yeah we have third year and fourth year BTech students, and
Okay.
we have first year MTech software engineering students.
I think that's even better because uh, most of the students will be or already are having their placements. Probably the fourth year students and the third year students you will be having it next year. And now the scenario has also changed, right? So during these COVID times, I understand how placements are going on. Even my younger sister is in third year of her university, and it is like quite different, I would say. So I understand the challenges because when we are in an atmosphere where everyone is preparing for placements, it's quite different, and now it is different. So yeah, that was about me. I shared my LinkedIn and Quora profile. So the reason I shared my Quora profile was because when I got placed, I started putting out some answers on Quora to help students who were sitting in placements just like me. So There are quite a lot of questions which students ask me there. You can just go to this link. Maybe ma'am has already shared this PPT with you, or I'll share it after this session, and you'll find a lot of answers there. How regarding placements, how to maintain your LinkedIn profile, and how to prepare for them. All right. So what I plan to talk about today. I mentioned it flexi agenda because I want this to be interactive. If you have anything else that you want to discuss apart from these topics, you can just feel free in the end of this session when we have the Q&A. So what I planned was basically in and out for campus placements, and I'll take your doubts, your questions as well, if you want anything answered from me, and then how and what to prepare in placements, then what do the interviewers, companies expect from you, uh, how to stand out from the sheep herd. So when I say sheep herd, there are, I think during my times there were almost 1,000 students in computer science in VIT, combining Vellore and Chennai. So there are quite a lot of students, and the companies are limited, as you already know. Then the CTC breakdown, which are the important points to note there, because this is quite an important thing. What we see is not every time what it actually is. So I'll get to that. And maybe some of the points you already know, some of the points you will feel that I don't need to tell you, but still I just wanted to let you know all of those so that it helps you. Then finally, I'll come to some of my personal uh, suggestions and what I think about success and life, passion, and how society perceives success. So, yeah, and I have put a disclaimer here. So, most of the information which I'll share would be based on my personal experience. Anytime if you want to ask any questions, I'm not sure if there's an option to raise a hand in Google Meet, but I won't be able to see that as well because I'll be sharing my screen. So you can just stop me, and I'll be happy to answer. Okay. So first, I want to know from you guys, what exactly do you expect from this session? I hope that you guys were already aware on what topic this session is gonna be. So just let me know if there are any other topics which you want to discuss apart from these here. Over to you, everyone. Anyone who wants to know anything else apart from these. I hope I'm audible and you didn't lose me.
Yes, ma. Yes, you're audible, ma. They're not opening it up. Maybe.
Okay. So I think most of the points are covered in this agenda. That's what I would assume if you don't want to know anything else. So I'll get right into it. So the first thing I would discuss is how and what to prepare for placements. Uh, I mentioned a few points here. Probably all of you already are aware of all of these, but this is also based on my experience. So when I talk about the resources which you should focus on, I would say Geeks for Geeks is the go-to platform. Every information, all the information regarding coding, regarding dynamic programming, everything is there on Geeks for Geeks. So there is no other place I would suggest for you to go and get that information. So just go to Geeks for Geeks and learn everything as much as possible. When I say learn everything, it can be regarding coding, it can be the topics which I mentioned below, OS, TBMS, networks, and then there are a few topics which are basic concepts are required when interviews come to the campus. They probably expect a few, like very few basic understanding of these topics. So it also shows them that you're curious to learn those subjects, even if you haven't done a lot in those subjects. And then the platforms you must already be aware. I have mentioned them in an order here. So what I mean is that I personally started from HackerRank and HackerEarth. So those are like I would say the difficulty level of the problems is not that much, and then interview bit provides you the questions which were previously asked in those interviews with different companies. So it sorts that for you, and you can just go in and select the companies and you can do those questions. So that is very good platform for that. And then CodeChef, and then there is Code Forces as well, if you want to go there as well. So these are all based on the ranking I would give them to start with: HackerRank, HackerEarth, InterviewBit, CodeChef, and then Code Forces and all if you want. So yeah, and then apart from all of these topics, one very important thing is good communication skills, because in some of the companies there is a group discussion round just after the first round, that is the online round. So for example, in the company which I got placed, Novartis, there was online test which had MCQs and uh, some questions, and then the other round was the group discussion round. After that, based on the shortlisting, there were technical and HR rounds. So it is important to have some like good communication skills there, and to be firm on what you believe in, but not to be too arrogant when you raise your point that you're trying to push the other people's point of view down. So that is one thing they also notice, that you're trying to put your points there in the group discussion, but not being too arrogant, or you're also allowing other people to put their points forward as well. So that is very important there. And make sure you don't sit quiet in group discussion. Put your points. Put also one very important thing here, which I personally experienced in group discussion rounds, was that first you need to understand who all are the interviewers which are sitting or which are roaming around in that room. So try to understand whether those are technical people or whether those are HR people. You can get to know that by understanding how they talk, right? So if some person talks mostly in technical language, they use technical jargons, or if they're not using those, you'll get to know that whether they are more technically inclined or whether they are more uh, HR inclined. So based on that, you need to put your points forward in group discussion. If you think that the interviewers in the room are more tech oriented, just try to put your answers in a more technical way, like giving them technical solutions to that problem that they give you in the group discussion. So that's how group discussions work. And if you follow all of this, I think you will get through group discussion rounds. Any questions here, guys? Anything?
No.
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So the thing is, what do interviewers and companies expect from you? So I mentioned a few points here which I thought were uh, were important when I gave my interviews. So first point was honesty. So don't add anything to your resume which you don't have knowledge in. I've seen some people who have added some projects, some research papers which they didn't contribute in that much, but they just added it for the sake of, like, it will make the resume look better. But when they were asked questions on those, it was like very difficult for them to get answers for those. So this is one very important thing. Uh, then the other point is, if you think your knowledge level is different in different skill sets. For example, I would give Python and Java, right? So uh, I think that in Python my skill set is advanced, and in Java it is like intermediate or beginner. So I'll put it in a way that the interviewer knows what my skill set level is. So if you are writing for any language, any framework, just mention it in this manner: advanced, Python, whatever it may be, JSP, Ajax, or anything, right? Node.js, AngularJS, React.js, then intermediate, the other skill sets, then beginner, the rest of them. So this is the way you can bargain with them. For example, if they ask some question for Java, which is like something you don't know, you can just mention that you are more comfortable in Python and all of that. It will help. Uh, then the second thing is confidence. So one very important point is that never change your answers based on the interviewer's voice tone or opinion. So they will try to manipulate you. They will uh, they will say that this is not correct. This should be the answer according to me. You need to make sure that you don't get manipulated that way. And if you think you're right, just stick to it and provide the reasoning why you believe that it is right. Then the third thing is acceptance. So if by chance you are wrong, like which usually happens, right? There is nothing wrong in being wrong, right? So you can just mention or ask the interviewer, why do you think I am wrong, and just ask them for the reasoning. It will show them the last point as well, curiosity, because if you don't know something and you want to learn about that, you're asking the interviewer himself or herself. So that is the third point, acceptance. Then the fourth point, curiosity. As I mentioned, if you don't know anything, just ask the interviewer. And after the interview is finished, right? No matter how it went, right? You just need to ask honest feedback from the interviewer, how the interview went. So they will understand that you are keen to learn and you are keen to improve yourself based on the answers that you are not able to provide. So yeah, that's it. Any questions here, guys? Anything you don't agree to here? Anything? Feel free. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned something about resumes and the honesty part thing. For an instance, imagine that I've put a project. It's a big project. Maybe four people have worked on it. So everyone has different contributions to the project. So, for instance,
Yeah.
the interviewer asks me something which I haven't done, which I haven't contributed to, and it's a very deep question. For instance, there is ML also in a website, and I worked on the website thing, and the other person worked on ML thing. I just know the basic model which he implemented in ML, but I don't know very much about it. So, will there be a negative impact if I am not able to answer that question, or should I directly tell him that no, I haven't contributed to this part, so I don't know this answer?
Yeah. So good question. What is your good name?
Shashwat.
Okay. So Shashwat, yes, there will be a negative impact if you don't tell them that you are not part of that. So just mention that you were not the one who implemented that part, but also make sure whenever you are doing any project, any research paper, uh, the part that you are doing, you already have the information. The part that others are doing, you should have a basic level of understanding there. And when the interviewer asks you any in-depth question of something else, you just mention that that part was not something that you were directly involved in or contributing. And whatever information you have on that aspect, you can just. But don't try to say something which even you are not sure of. That will create a negative impact, because if that is wrong, then it won't look good. Only say something which you are sure of.
Okay, okay, fine, got it. Thank you.
Okay, good question. Anyone else? All right. Guys, no worries. If you don't ask right now, you can ask in the end as well. So feel free, guys. Then
So
the
can I
third
ask a
part
question?
here is, yeah, sure.
According to you, what is the importance of certifications in your resume? Like, if we have just a knowledge of the thing, or we should have the certification to show the interviewer that we have done certain thing.
To be honest, that's a good question. So to be honest, certifications are important when it comes to interviews. They show that you were curious of something and you also proved that you know that point through doing the certification, right? So if you know something and you are not certified for it, there is no way you can just let the other person know or the interviewer know that you have that skill set that they require. So it is always good to have some certifications. That's what I would advise. I think now LinkedIn Learning is also providing some certifications. So if you add a skill there, you can just do that certification and you'll get the badge there itself. So make sure you also share all your profiles, LinkedIn profile, keep it updated, with all the courses, projects, research papers, everything that you have. Even your source code repository, GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever, wherever your project's code is, just keep it handy and mention those links to them so that they are aware. So this is also one good point that if you have worked on any projects and you have the source code somewhere, right? So if you have maintained it and versioned it properly, then that is something they also look for, because if you're versioning it in college itself and maintaining in a source code repository, it gives a good impression that you have already started working as the organizations work. So in the organizations, all the source code is maintained in a repository, forks happen, clones happen, pull requests happen. So that is one important thing. And yes, I think I answered your question regarding certification. Uh,
Yes, thank you, sir.
Anything else? Don't call me sir. Please don't call me sir. I'm just, maybe I'm an year or two older than you guys. Okay.
I
Anything
have
else?
a
Anyone?
question, Dhruv.
Hmm.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, my question was, is adding Coursera certificates good? Because I think one of my teachers suggested that having certification is good, but Coursera is not good. So I you said about the curiosity point, it shows your curiosity, right? So
Yeah.
do you think that Coursera certification, if you add in your resume, it's good?
I
Like
mean,
if
I'm not sure if why any teacher would say that Coursera certification is not good. Every certification matters, and if you have a lot of them, it is even better. And even better than certification is that if you have done some certification and after that you have also implemented it somewhere else in your project or anywhere, that is even better. But whether it is Coursera, it is edX, it is Udemy, it is LinkedIn Learning, it I don't think it matters. All of them are prestigious platforms. And if you are not satisfied with the course, then you can even go for a specialization. So there are like some specializations which are comprising of like 5 to 6 courses, which are even longer. But then you get a professional certificate there. So even I was exploring this certification, I think by IBM recently for machine learning. So there are quite a lot of certifications, and I would say Coursera, Udemy, any platform is good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there is one more platform, not platform, I would say, like Microsoft also provides open source documentation, complete documentation for cloud and for DevOps stuff, which I'm into. So I think you can just go there and you can explore there. And once you read those documentations, you can also go through some certifications there. For example, Microsoft Azure certified DevOps engineer. Then after that, you can go to different levels. They have like star rating system, 1 star, 3 star, 5 star. So that is also one thing which is quite good, I would say. And similarly, you have certifications for Azure, AWS, and different stuff. So yeah, good question. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay. So if you have any questions, keep it till the end. We'll get to them. I think we still have half an hour. Okay. So the last point here was how to stand out from the sheep herd here regarding placements. Yeah, so this is a bit tricky part. Why I mention it here is, uh, as I mentioned already, right? Projects, research papers, and having volunteer experience definitely makes your resume look good, and it makes it better. It makes you stand out. And the second part I already mentioned, have in-depth knowledge of whatever you have mentioned there in your resume. But then the last point is what is tricky here. So this is something I experienced myself. Sometimes what happens is if you have too many good projects, too many research papers, uh, you can go. For example, you went through the last round, and maybe you're in the HR round, and the interviewers sometimes they think that because you have so many research papers and projects, you might leave the organization if they hire you in a year or two for higher studies. So this is if you have projects and research papers like quite good and a lot in number, they may consider you might go for MS after a year or two. And if you have some volunteer experience in NGOs, like not just basic volunteer experience, I would say if you have some leadership experience there as well, right? If you are vice president of some NGO in your college. For example, I would give you my example. I was this vice president of Uddeshya NGO in VIT Chennai. So it is in VIT Vellore and Chennai both. And this all of this I have experienced, so I just thought to mention here. I think it will be quite useful for you. And then, I mean, definitely you should have very good projects and research papers in your resume. But if some interviewer thinks, basically they'll mention it to you, right? They'll directly ask you, you have so many good projects, you have this research paper, why don't you go for MS directly or MBA? You need to be firm there. You need to provide them with an answer that they will understand that you won't leave the organization after a year or two. So if I give you my example, I just jokingly said that I don't have the money to go for MS or MBA. So this is something I told, and it actually worked, right? So you can use something like this. You can use whatever you think is right, but yeah. So you just need to make them understand that you won't leave the organization, right? If they think like that, then they won't hire you, right? If they think that you'll leave in a year or two, they won't hire you at all. So any questions here, guys? Do you think this information is useful for you, which I just told? Okay. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yes, ma, yes, ma.
Okay. All right. So I'll go to the next part, CTC breakdown. Important points to note. So yeah, so first of all, CTC basically most of you would already know it stands for cost to company, which is basically the total salary package which the organization offers. But the important part here is that please make sure you check the breakdown of the CTC which the company presents. So, for example, some companies might inflate the CTC which they offer. What I mean by inflate is, for example, there is a company which says they are offering 11 lakhs per annum, just for an example, right? And they have included some stocks or some share options of the company as well into that breakdown. Then you need to know that because it might happen that the actual value that they are presenting is 11 LPA, but in reality, what you'll get uh, by the end of the year, excluding those stock options and all of that, might be like 6 LPA or might be anything. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. Just to make sure that you understand the breakdown of the CTC. And it might be the case like in VIT and in some of the universities, like it is like Dream and Super Dream, right? So it might be the case that some dream companies might actually be a super dream company because they haven't included those options, those stock options into the CTC which they show. And it might be vice versa as well, just like I mentioned. A super dream company might not actually be a super dream company. It might be a dream company based on the CTC they offer. Like they're showing that it is a super dream, but it might be a bit less. So do you think this point is important for you? Because I think it is very important. Any questions here? Anything?
Guys, any questions? Okay, we will take it
I
at
think
the end.
yeah, I think students are quite smart already. They already know how the breakdown works. All right,
Maybe
guys, choose wisely.
it will be useful for first years.
Yeah. Okay. So then I come to the second topic uh, regarding success. So when I say what is success, right? So any one of you, can you tell me what is success for you? Anyone? What do you think being successful means? Okay. So guys, I'll basically what I tried to mention here is that can we define success for others, right? So this is a question. Ask yourself: can you define success for others? I don't think we can define it for others. It is relative for each person. What they think about success. Maybe I think that success for me is helping the poor, donating money as much as possible, helping my family, being happy whole day, doing something which I like, and if I do it every day, then I'm successful every day, right? So that's where the second question comes: can we define success for ourselves? Yes, absolutely, we can define it for ourselves. Does it matter what others think of us if we are successful or not? Not at all. They have their own lives, we have our own. So it's their definition of success which they can't use on others. So that's what I'm trying to say here. This might get a little bit of philosophical, uh, but yeah, that's the way it is. I don't think there will be much questions coming on these topics, but let's see. Yeah. So then I mentioned this life theory of relativity. You all must already be aware of this Einstein's theory of relativity. So what I mentioned by life theory of relativity here is that uh, whatever our views and thoughts are with respect to anything, right? Everything is relative to individuals' perceptions. So just like I mentioned before, if I connect it with success, uh, something which I consider as success, someone else might not, right? So everyone wants to do something else. They might consider something very small for them, which is something big for me, maybe, right? And it may be vice versa, and that is completely okay. Right? So, uh, and the other point is that never consider others' approval, disapproval in your success criteria. Everyone has their own success criteria. It should be your approval and disapproval for your success, right? Because humans are never really satisfied. We all know. There is, even if we achieve most of the stuff, even if we are Ambani, we still want to be maybe Bill Gates, right? So that's how humans are wired. And then the last part, I think this is the last part. I'm not sure. So swinging passion. So this is also from my personal experience, right? For all of us, I think this is applicable. Everyone's passion keeps changing. We sometimes we want to do something else, then we turn out to do something else, and then afterwards we realize we want to do something else. We just keep on doing stuff, and we never really focus on something which we really think might be useful, right? So then the second question comes here is: are we supposed to figure out everything at this young age? Right? I am 23 years old. You guys might be 20, 21, 22, or maybe 23. So, guys, you're not supposed to know everything at this point, not supposed to figure out everything. You have, I mean, I will give an example, right? Uh, from the time, like from the tribal times, the Stone Age era, when the life expectancy was 30 or 40, because there were there were a lot of diseases, no cures. Then it increased to 60, and now it is, I think, 80 or something, which is average life expectancy. So like this has been coming from quite a long time. Like when, for example, let's take recently when it was the average was 60, right? So people thought that they should be settled by 20 or 30. They should be settled, they should have a house, they should have everything by 35 and 40, and then they should plan for their retirement until 60, and then they'll retire, right? So but now it is changed, right? It is not 60 anymore. We humans are living till 80. I see many people living till 90, 100. So it is your life. You need to decide on the pace you can go. No one should tell you that you should be here at this age. You should do this at this age. If you're not sure what you want to do ahead, it is completely okay. Just then I mentioned here, find your ikigai. I think so. This I'm taking from a book, which is a bestseller book, and I highly recommend you guys to read it. Not a very long book; it would be like 200 pages. So Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. So what it mentions is the 4 points, right? Find something that you love, you like to do, then which is also something which you are good at, and then which you can be paid for, and then finally what the world also needs, right? So if you can find one thing which fulfills all of this, it might not be even one thing; it can be multiple stuff which you want to do. Just try to find that, and that is basically the ikigai, and try to do that with all your passion. So you might not be able to find it right away in a year, in a year and a half. Like it might take 10 years, but it is completely okay. So this is what I follow personally, and yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. I hope this session was useful for you in some way. Even though I don't have that much of an experience, but I think from the minimal experience that I have, I was able to give you something. And feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, on Quora, ask anything. And now you have like what 20 minutes, so feel free to ask any question you have, and let me know your feedback on how did you feel about this session. Uh, yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, you can ask any questions, guys. Please. Any doubts about his campus life? Anything?
Yeah, guys, be open. I'm not a senior. I'm not any teacher, any professor. You can ask anything.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
Uh, Sir, if I'm going to do a project, can that project rely on animations? Because animation, I think it doesn't have any scope in India. So the person who is going to see my project, will he be satisfied about my project if there is animations and
No, no.
VFX?
Okay. Yeah. So good question. So this is something out of the box. When I say out of the box, because most of the companies that come to placements, they are not looking exactly for animation. But then again, when you say it doesn't have any scope in India, then I don't think it is completely correct. There are a lot of companies which are working in animation, and I think there is a lot of scope in that. And it is not that explored field, so there is not like a very big sheep herd going that way, and that is something positive which I would say. So definitely try out those projects and add that to your resume as well, because even if you are not going into an animation company, right, even if you are not going there, you have a project which is for animation, and again it raises a point that you are curious about something else as well. So it all comes back to all the 4 points that I mentioned, which the interviewers look forward in a resume or in a candidate while interviewing. But definitely try out in those companies as well, which are related to animation. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Not a question, but general feedback. It's a nice perspective. I think I learned something. Just wanted to-
Thank you. What's your name? Javed.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Javed.
Javed. Guys, use me up. Take something else as well. Ask as much as you want. You have 19 minutes.
Hi, Dhruv.
Campus life, corporate life. Yeah. Hi, Anshu.
Yeah, so like the presentation was great, whatever you mentioned. Like I experienced all of it. I'm a final year student. So I wanted to know, like having joined the industry, what type of growth are you looking for? Like, is it like horizontal growth where you're looking for more growth towards business, sales side, or you're aiming for vertical growth? Like, and what are your opinions over it?
Uh, okay. So when you say vertical growth, what exactly do you mean?
Like promotions on the tech side, like suppose you're the DevOps engineer now, so in the same single direction, you want promotions, or do you want to go grow like horizontally towards like experiencing more domains and other aspects?
Okay, got it. Got it. Okay. So personally, Anshu, first of all, thank you for the feedback. And I'm happy that it has happened to you as well. You have experienced something similar. So, answering your question, I think I'm still open to exploring horizontally into different domains. Although I know that the domain that I am in currently, DevOps engineer, is a very trending domain right now, and there is a lot of scope here. But then there is another quote, right? Change is the only constant. So I want to explore different areas, and maybe this is something which I think and discuss with myself sometimes, that is this something which I want to do forever? Sometimes it is yes, sometimes it is no. Maybe 2 years down the line, I'll be somewhere else, and then maybe somewhere else. So that's how I think of life. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello.
Hi, Shashwat.
Hi. Actually, if I'm also a final year student, if someone is placed in a company under the role of data analytics or some analysis kind of job, and after a year or so, maybe he wants to go into SDE, software development. So, will doing data analytics and things for a company, will it help me growing in other company, or like I'll have to start from scratch if I'm doing the SDE job, if I want to switch to SDE?
Good question. So, Shashwat, basically, if you are into data analytics in some corporate and you want to switch to SDE role or any other role, just try to get some certifications alongside doing your job as well. This is what I do, and I have seen most of the people do. If they want to switch to some other domain, uh, go to, like, for example, if you want to be a developer, React developer, or anything, right? So just go online, do some certifications there, maybe do some extra projects, but definitely you need to put in some extra hours outside your job profile, so that it will be very easy for you when you switch to some other domain. But if you already have the experience of data analytics, right? So it will also definitely add to your resume. That is something for sure, but you need to put some extra hours there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anyone else?
Hello, sir.
Not sir. Okay, hi
Okay,
Swati.
hello. Yeah, hello, Dhruv. So, I'm a
Yeah.
first year student here, and now that IIT has come up with degrees where we can do it offline, I'm sorry, online, and people are opting for parallel courses now. I really, I'm in a confused state to choose between certifications and, getting my base strong, or going into a degree for a research-oriented lifestyle. So, what do you prefer?
So personally, I would suggest to first create the basic foundation strong, and then go for those degrees.
Okay.
So I'm also aware of those platforms which offer, like, MS and even MBA. All of these degrees and courses are available online now, like distance courses, and those are quite useful. But first, I would suggest to go with some specializations.
Okay.
So when I say specialization, it can be a combination of courses on some platforms, and then once you are comfortable there and you're sure that you want to do that, because when you go for a degree, right, it is a huge investment as well. So the certifications, the specializations won't be that big of an investment, right? So if you
Okay.
start exploring through some certifications, you'll get to know if that is something you really want to do, and then if you are sure of that, you can go ahead with the degree,
Yeah,
which might be a bit costly.
and to add here, your session was really useful for me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you. Really means a lot, guys. I don't have a lot of experience giving a session to like 89 people or so, but I'm glad it was useful.
Yeah, throughout the limit for the GMeet is 100, bro. Actually, totally we have more students, and
Oh,
unfortunately, we have created in GMeet, and a lot of students couldn't join. Sorry for that, guys.
no
Any
worries, ma'am. Maybe you can schedule another session. I've taken the next 2 weeks off from my organization. It is the festive season in India, and I didn't want to work. So next 2 weeks, if you want to schedule another session, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, sure, Dhruv. Actually, this is the last working day. Today is the last working day for all the students except first years. And
Okay,
so for first years, they have classes till January. So for sure, we will have it another day. Okay.
sure,
And
sure.
yes. And any other questions, guys, please?
Ma'am, I have one. Hi, Dhruv. I'm Abhishek.
Hi, Abhishek.
So you told to stand out of the crowd, one has to either excel in his, excel in his skills, or get certified, or one more thing. What was that? I'm not sure. These two. So a minority of the students will do these and get excelled and get a place in a company also. So majority of those won't do this. I mean, won't be able to cope up with studies and getting certified and all those. So
Yeah.
which one should the majority prefer? Either getting certified or getting excelled? Which one is the better one for the majority of those?
I mean, if you're getting certified, first of all, thank you for the question. If you're getting certified, I would say you are getting a step ahead of the crowd in getting some knowledge on that. So, I mean, if it is definitely better if you are even applying that knowledge on some projects after that. But again, it is up to you that you have to give some extra hours there, because most of the people would just. I'll give you from my personal experience, right? So most of the people were just preparing for their university courses, and then maybe they were coding, and but apart from that, apart from competitive coding, there was nothing much they were focusing on. And from my personal experience, I had like two research papers on different journals and some projects. And one important point I would mention here is, I don't know if it is too late now, but try to keep the same set of group right from the first year. Right. So it happened with me. That's why I'm sharing. So I had like the same set of 15, 20 friends. I mean, expand your friendship circles, that is fine, but try to keep those groups into your projects so that you have a better understanding among yourselves that this guy is good in something else, you are good in something else, and you have that coordination on how to complete that work on time. Then you will be able to even start a research paper in one course, and you'll be able to finish it off in like next semester or even next to next semester because you have the same set of things. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. I hope it answered your question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, hi Dhruv. Actually, I wanted to know that you have mentioned that you had two research papers. So did you showcase that in your resume finally?
Oh yeah, definitely. Those were the standing out things in my resume. The research
Okay,
papers. Yeah.
but you mentioned that sometimes the company will get a wrong aspect that you will
Yeah,
leave
yeah,
the
yeah.
organization in 1 or 2 years. That's why.
Yeah, I know where you're getting at. Yeah, so this happened, and even like two or three organizations which were interviewing me, I was even rejected for this reason. But then finally, I learned how to deal with it. How to deal with it? Basically, just tell them that, give them some reason that they become so sure that you are not going to leave the organization. For me, I used that I don't have the money. I just told this I can't go for MS MBA directly, and I will stick to this job until I have that. So you can use different reasons, but you need to make sure they understand that. It might be
So
true, it might not be true, right? But you want that job, right? At that
yeah,
point.
yeah. Yeah, so you need to showcase your research papers on your resume and give some strong reason, concrete reason to the company that you will not leave the organization for some MS
Yes,
research. Okay, okay, that's good
yes.
one. Thank you, thank you.
But yes, yeah. Research papers and projects will be very helpful to stand out of the crowd. So you need to have them.
So, so
Hi, Akash.
could you mention some of your projects when you are studying?
Okay. So guys, probably you can just go to my LinkedIn as well. I have everything there. But to mention a few of them, I'll talk about the two research papers. I think in one of those, Premlatha ma'am was also involved. She helped me in that as well. So I think one of those was facial recognition using R cascading with BRISC. So it was more of a facial identification system. The second one was healthcare IoT-based healthcare monitoring system for war soldiers. So these two were those which were published in journals, one in Elsevier and one in IEEE. And I'm very happy that within a year, they have like 13 or 14 citations already. So yeah, and rest of the projects are on my LinkedIn. You can go there. You can connect me on LinkedIn. You can ask me any message, anything. I hope it answered your question, Akash.
Ah, yes, sir.
Anyone else?
Hello, Dhruv.
Uh,
Yeah, myself
Hi.
Shashank.
Hi, Shashank.
Yeah, I had some questions on internships as I'm pursuing my integrated degree, right? So,
Mhm.
according to you, which year is right to pursue the internship in the college?
Good question. Even this question I have answered on my Quora. So I will highly recommend everyone to go to my Quora. It will really help all of you. But I'll answer it here as well. Uh, so for internships, you mean the 1 month or 2 month internship, is it?
Actually, I don't have that knowledge about internships, so that's why I was asking.
Okay, okay. So let me tell you. So I'm not aware of the dual degree program, but for BTech, what happens is you have to complete 1 month at least internship in an organization, and I would suggest you to do it maybe in the second year after the first semester of the second year is completed. So after the third semester or after the fourth semester. I think that's it. You can complete your 1 month internship then, because after that it might be a bit too late based on my experience, because then you have to prepare for the placements as well. And yeah, so third semester end or fourth semester end.
Okay, and I have heard that in internship, if you perform well, I think they give you PPO, right? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
right?
So that depends on the internship, if it is on campus, off campus. So sometimes what happens is, for example, I'll give you an example of PayPal. So PayPal came with an internship, and they also offered some of the students from that group of students pre-placement offer as well. Uh, so one of my like roommate was one of those. So there are a few companies which give PPO based on your performance, but there are a few who don't give as well. It depends on whether the company requires an asset that time or
Okay, and what about the requirements? Means you have to complete the program core subjects, some of the program core subjects, or if you are knowing some language, it is all right.
No, no. Companies don't put forth any such requirement, right? So if your profile is uh, good enough for them, if you have done some certifications, courses, you have some experience, some projects, anything, or even if you are curious, right? Because no one will expect a third semester or fourth semester student to be professional in or advanced in any of the skill sets. So you just need to show your curiosity there.
Okay.
Guys, 4 more minutes. Any other questions?
Hi Dhruv, it's me again, Abhishek. So we have two separate degrees, like MTech and BTech. So who has an edge, MTech students or BTech students? Who do the companies prefer more?
I don't think I should answer this question in this call because I have both of the students here.
I mean, come on,
Maybe you
MTechs
can
are
ask me.
freshers and BTechs are, final years, so it won't matter anyway.
See, I personally believe that I think I'll answer this in personal chat, or you can ask me on LinkedIn or Quora. I'll answer it there.
Ma'am, at least can you answer this?
Ma'am, I don't have any experience on this. Only students has to answer. Dhruv, tell me. Yes, no issues.
Okay. So Abhishek, personally, I feel that because in the company which I work in, right, there are some MTech students who from VIT itself. So that is a very good example. I'm BTech from VIT. There are some MTech students, and they are on the same position as I am. So I think that answers your question.
No, that does not answer my question.
Okay. So what exactly do you want to know?
Do we get harder questions, or do they prefer? See,
No.
we completed 5 years. They completed 4 years. So
No,
I
he is
don't know.
asking about the preference which is given for the students. Okay, either they are 5-year integrated or BTech. Which program students are preferable? He is asking. I hope that is his question. Dhruv.
Okay. So no, Abhishek. So basically, even I don't have that experience because I'm not aware of any parallel interviews going on. And if they have asked something like this, and if they have preferred someone over someone else, I think both of them are equally like treated equally. There is not much importance given, but there is one point there because they have already completed their MTech, right? So and the BTech student might go for higher studies later on. So this is something the companies might consider that the MTech student has already completed his master's and there is less chance that they would go for another master's degree in the near future. The BTech guy might go for a master's degree in a year or two. That is highly probable as compared to the MTech guy. So this is something that the companies might consider, but I haven't experienced this at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, first year students, if you want any other session, we will discuss and then we shall have it. No issues. Okay. You can ask all your doubts there. So, Dhruv,
Yeah.
shall we wind it up?
Sure. Yeah. I think we are over.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thanks, Dhruv. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Your
Thank you, ma'am.
knowledge, your
Thank you.
experience. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you, everyone.
only, yeah, this is very helpful. I see, technically anyone can give inputs. That is my perception. Okay. Any person who can give excellent deliveries in technical aspects, but personally how to grow as a human being and how to survive, only less people share that information, and I'm very thankful for you for sharing that information to us. Very happy to have you here, and we are privileged, okay, to listen to you. Thank you so much, Dhruv, for the wonderful
Thank you so much.
Yes, it was
Thank you,
very
everyone.
really helpful.
Thank you, everyone. Ma'am, please share the PPT as well with the students if they
Yeah,
want.
I already did share
Okay.
during this meeting itself. I have shared, ma, and I have shared it to Anusuya ma'am also. Ma'am, please share it to your students.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yes. Thank you, Dhruv.
Okay. Thank
See
you,
you soon
everyone.
again.
Have a great day. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, students, for patiently listening.